Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hymes is here. Bob Stewart is there, and a guest is waiting in the wings. Bob, how are you doing today?
She's out of the green room, though. We figured that out.
Not that our audience has any idea what that means.
We figured that out. I'm good, Chad. I'm good.
All right.
I don't know.
You say that with you're not sure, so you're just like, just get to this, Chad. I got nothing for you today.
Yeah, sometimes, I'm feeling like really dialed in life. Sometimes I'm like depressed. I'm like, right, I don't know. I'm in the middle. It was 78 degrees here yesterday. So like
what?
The summer showed itself to us and then immediately retreated to 60 degrees. Like,
there you go.
So, that's Seattle, Washington in the spring. It could be 80. It could be 45 and rainy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I'm in that middle. I'm in this middle. Like I'm just kind of going with the flow right now. I don't know.
Before the sun was even up here for my run this morning, Bob, it was 78 degrees. So we hear you. We know it. Sadly, we don't get to go back to 60. We would like to go back.
Yeah, you're headed towards 98 and humid and gross. Like
yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's not important because what's more important than where you are in Seattle area or where I am in the Fort Lauderdale, Florida area is where our guest is from today. Because I don't know where our guest is from. And I say she, even though I'm going to introduce her with Jack, right? I'm looking forward to where she's from because, Bob, we do have a hint. She's not from around here, shall we say.
Yeah. I mean, you're really good at picking up on accents. Let's bring her on. So Jacqueline Beasley, she asked us to call her Jack. So that's what we're going to do. Jack, welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Thank you very, very much, Chad and Bob. So I am from a very, very cold UK. So Essex, not far from London. And we're sitting at probably about 50 to 55 degrees, so much colder than where you guys are in the States.
Okay, Jack, before we go any farther, did you have to get out Google to calculate the difference because it's Celsius versus Fahrenheit, or did you know the balance?
I knew the balance.
Okay. I remember the certain numbers. 16 was about 61, 28 was 82. I remember some from when I lived north of the border in Canada, so.
But listen, it's no different. So literally, we had bikini weather in the UK on Friday, and then on Monday, barbecue, and it was windy, it was rainy, it was wild. So not too different from where you guys are.
Let's hope we don't get bikini weather in the Seattle area. I don't need to see Bob in one.
Hey, Chad, bikini. In the spring.
Yes.
Bikini weather in Seattle's like 60 degrees. Like the first day it hit 60 here, people are out in their shorts. There's boats on Lake Union, and you're like, it's not actually that warm. Like, what are you guys doing? But we don't see the sun for so long. When it comes out, we don't care how warm it is,
you
know?
Yes, and we laugh at you from down here. All right, so Jack, as we'll be calling you, right? Everybody, don't get confused. There's not a fourth. There's not some gentleman coming. Jacqueline goes by Jack. Introduce yourself to our audience. Let them know, other than across the pond, let them know who you are, what you're here, what we're going to talk about, some of your history. Update us.
Wonderful. So my name's Jackie Beasley. I have been in psychology and leadership for 30 years now. Very, very much looking at changing the way people think, behave, and very, very much about bringing a winning mindset to everything that you do, no matter what happens in life, adversity, whatever hits you, change that, turn that pain into power, and actually let that kind of drive you forward. So I'm currently, I'm a leadership and executive coach in the UK. I've also spent most of last year coaching diplomats, entrepreneurs, and high achievers and high performers in the US. That's me.
Can I ask you a question? I feel like that's why we're here. It'd be weird if you were like, nope, sorry, weirdo. What made you want to become a psychologist? Like, was there somebody, like in my head, I just envisioned that every psychologist grew up with some adult in their world that they were like, I can't stand this person and I wish I could change them. And then they became a psychologist so they could like help change people. But like, why did you become a psychologist?
So do you know what? I didn't choose to become a psychological therapist. It chose me. So I had a very, very difficult, traumatic relationship when I was 21. And through that, I had to seek some support for myself and my children. And the company that supported me, they saved my life. There is no doubt about it. And I was actually at university doing a degree and ended up changing my degree and studied psychology and sociology. But I couldn't quite decide whether, when I looking into the human psyche, I was never quite that it's nature or nurture. It was both. At some point, it starts with nature, but at a certain point, nurture takes over. So I was very, very fortunate to change my degree and do a degree in psychology and sociology. And I then also did some studying alongside that. And I specialised initially in victims of domestic and sexual abuse. And I actually became one of the youngest clinicians to work with under fives that have been sexually abused in Essex. So again, I didn't choose it, it chose me. I assessed a family and a young child disclosed to me. And I referred that family on to another centre, and there was a 6-month wait to see that child. And I said to my boss, gosh, this is wild. This child's disclosed to me. We can't leave her hanging for 6 months. So we then set up a different stream of work where we then became one of the newest companies in Essex to actually work with under fives that have been sexually abused.
Oh,
so,
man,
yeah.
goodness. Whoa. I have a young, I don't know, what is he? I call him my nephew. He's not technically my nephew, but I have a nephew. He's like 22 years old and he just got a job with the fire department. And every time I see him, I'm like, hey man, how's it going? Like, I feel like being in what you were doing and like dealing with kids, that's a lot of trauma to take on. And even though you're trained in it, how did you navigate kind of being in this world where you were experiencing other people's trauma or dealing with that? It's such obviously like a super amazing thing to do, right? To help these kids that are in like the most brutal situations. But like, how did you do it without, I don't know, becoming consumed by it? Like just getting this outlook on humanity where you're like, oh my God, people are insane. Like, how do you deal with that?
Do you know what? It made me grateful every single day. I've got two boys that are they're actually young men now. And every night I would come home from work and I'd just be grateful that my children were safe, that I was keeping them safe. And actually, when you work in this field, you really don't understand and properly realise what a lot of people out there go through, especially children. I was young myself. I was literally in my mid-20s when I started doing that work. But what I was very, very fortunate to do, I guess, I have worked with and probably saved thousands of lives, women and children. And I then had a team that worked for me that did the same work as well. And then about 15 years in, I got approached by a chap that I'd met at a kind of charity event that was doing similar work with violent perpetrators and Schedule 1 sex offenders. And he was like, Jack, I'd love you to come and work with me. And I was like, are you kidding me? I work with the light, you work with the dark. Like, I cannot work with that clientele. But I went home that night and I woke up the next day and I thought I felt something inside of me. And I thought, do you know what? If I can prevent one child from being sexually abused, my whole career would be worthwhile, because I'm on the other side of it where I'm literally picking the pieces up, putting people back together again. So I then actually decided to go and observe a session taking place. And it was one of the most challenging days of my life, I would say. I know your viewers won't see me, but I've now got dark hair, but I'm actually a natural blonde, quite voluptuous. And it was so stereotypical what I faced when I went in and did that group. I then changed my hair, changed the way I looked. I thought, gosh, I'm going to go and make a difference here, and I'm going to get the whole story, and I'm going to look to actually change people's lives for the better. So I was actually able to also negotiate working with that company. I was trained to prosecute on behalf of the probation service as well. So anyone that I couldn't rehabilitate in the community, I could then prosecute in court myself and send back to prison. Okay. So I then did that for 5 years.
Okay. Wow. Let's get a little less heavy, folks. Right? Okay.
I'm fascinated by this. I don't know, like just the psychology fascinates me. I could talk about this all day.
And it is absolutely fascinating. And Jack, what you are doing and have done is wonderful and rewarding. Yet I want to help our audience grow, right? And if
Yes.
first of all, audience, if you are experiencing any of the things Jack has already talked about, go get help.
Yeah.
Right? Go seek a professional. Don't be ashamed. Don't hide from it. Go seek help. But we're not going to turn this episode into a therapy session for anybody who might be listening that might have gone through something, because that's not going to get them the help they need. Yet you have learned through all of that. One of the sentences you said when you introduced yourself was, I've turned pain into power.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that was very, very, very powerful statement. Toxic relationships, we all sadly have them at some point in our life and things like that. Let's talk about how we recognize those things, how we end those things, because everybody listening to the podcast probably has somebody in their life that might be a toxic relationship, not on the full end of the scale, but something that needs to be paid
Yeah.
attention to. So Jackie, take us down that conversation.
Okay, so obviously I was in my own toxic relationship, and I think the younger you are, you just don't see the red flags are there. You feel it in your gut, but you've got about 6 to 12 months in any relationship that's that honeymoon period. So we've got those rose speckled glasses on, literally just not listening to our gut feelings.
Your
Oh,
light doesn't matter. We can
yes,
see you.
I'm going to move
They
it.
can't.
There, that's it, done. So basically, it's really, I would say to anybody, when you're in a situation that doesn't feel right, listen to your gut feeling. You're going to have your heart telling you one thing, your head telling you something else. But if it doesn't feel right in your stomach, listen to that. Now, I would say anyone that's whether that's personal or even business, you need to protect yourself. You need to put boundaries in place. So first and foremost, look out for the red flags. They're always there. Your gut will never, ever lie. And often what will happen, someone will come out of a toxic relationship, again, professional or personal. And at the end of it, you'll say, I saw the red flags in the beginning. I didn't listen to what my gut was telling me back then.
I think, like, when I think about toxic relationships professionally, sometimes we're slow to get out of those because we initiated them, right? Like, oh, I hired that person, and oh,
Yeah.
now that they're here, they're kind of, but I hired them. How do I get out of my own way there? Is there anything I can do to, I don't know, I'd call it like chase, like when you're gambling and you're chasing bad bets, right? Like in these scenarios, you're kind of chasing that bad decision you made and trying to justify it, as opposed to going, hold on, let me listen to my gut here. Like, let me get out. Why do we do that? Why do we try to justify these decisions?
I think because none of us want to actually admit that we was wrong. And again, I would probably say at the start of that, there might have been something where you was like on the fence a little bit. Should I hire? Should I not hire? You go for it. Again, you ignore the red flags. You ignore your gut feeling. What I would say in those situations, always have honest conversations with that person. And the chances are, if it's not working out, we're kind of in that company, then it's about trying to encourage them to actually see what's working for them as well, what's working for you. Toxicity just breeds toxicity, and what's going to happen there if you don't deal with that, especially if you're the boss, then that will change potentially. It will bleed throughout the whole culture. Then you've got a much, much, much bigger problem. So you need to address it. You need to, again, kind of stand in your own power, set boundaries, have honest conversations, and make the decision that you need to make. And if it means that that's exiting them for the business, that's what you need to do.
Okay, let's take this outside of business, right?
Personal.
I want to take this outside of business because, yes, you're right. We hire those mistakes because, well, we just need to hit a quota, or we just see the good. We're in the honeymoon period during the hiring, and we're like, oh, this person's going to be amazing, and then later we're like, no, I never should have hired them in the first place. It happens in our personal life as well. And what I think is harder in our personal life is, once we've realized we're in a toxic relationship, ending it. Right? At work, it's easy for me. It's not easy, yet it's easier for me to sit down with the hire and say, you're fired.
Yeah.
Right? Find a reason, justify, and move on from that. Maybe husband and wife, I could say, or maybe husband and wife would be a harder one, but maybe partners where they're not married yet, it's easier to say,
Yeah.
go on my own way. Yet, how do we do it? What are some of the steps we need to overcome a toxic relationship whether it's in work or even the extra ones, the challenging ones outside of work?
So again, in a personal toxic relationship, what you'll often find is that certainly you'll find that toxicity will actually you'll start getting unwell within your body. Okay, so again, listen to your body. What are you feeling? And often, so for me, I hold pain in my lower back. So if I get back pain, I'm thinking, okay, right, not what's the problem, who is the problem? Okay.
Bob, where do you hold pain?
In my gut.
Mine's my jaw.
That's yeah. So again, so this, and you've probably had that all of your life. Now, the first thing that I would say to any client would be, if you don't do anything right now, what does your life look like in 1 year? If your life stays as it is now, what does life look like in 5 years? And I guarantee in any sort of toxic relationship, the behavior will get worse and worse the older the person gets.
And by the time they're having that conversation with you, Jack, they've already seen the progression. And so it's probably relatively, I don't want to say easy, but they can probably close their eyes and think about where it's been in the last year, where it's gotten to where it's going.
But what you'll often find, Chad, is that actually people become quite unwell in toxic relationships. It will start to manifest in the body, the energy, the negativity. It all breeds and breeds. So it's really, really important to actually look at, if I don't do something today, what does life look like? And often for a lot of people, it is so horrendous when you kind of like future, when you're looking into that future, that is then the kinds of I say that there's normally a trigger that will, if I think about people that have come to me, if I'm honest, Chad, it gets pretty bad in a personal relationship and it can be life or death. I've got people coming to me for safety plans. I've got literally people that are referred, from the police, all kinds of different sort of channels where we need to get people out of, toxic relationships safely, because it does often escalate. It's not just emotional, it often ends physical, can be sexual, financial. It's literally, it does not stop.
That's interesting you say that. I never would have made the connection to the physical way we feel. I was in a toxic relationship at one point, nowhere near the level of the toxicity you've spoken of, but yet it's the only time in my life I ever had migraines, right? It's the only time I ever had those turn off the lights. I need the silence. Everybody leave me alone. That should have been keys and all that. And now I'm in a, whatever the opposite of toxic is, right?
Healthy.
Flourishing and energizing relationship, whatever. I feel great every day. I mean, I don't know the last time my body has felt anything. Now, when I meet with Bob, I start to feel a little under the weather. It happens, right? So, folks, that's a great.
You should take him on. You should take him on as a client. He's got some.
I've got issues with Bob. That is a great indicator. Pay attention to it. If you're feeling sick regularly, if you're experiencing some sort of symptoms, it's probably your body attempting to tell you something that you don't want to listen to that's going on in your brain because you got the rose-colored glasses on and you're missing what you should be seeing. And I think that's a powerful, powerful message. Can I ask you something completely off topic while we're here?
You can.
Okay. Bob usually loves noting cool things in the background behind our people because we get to see our interviewees, and you're in your kitchen, and that's fine. I mean, I love kitchens. Your kitchen looks very nice. Yet out of the corner, I can see your window, and it looks like you have a katana up there in the window. Now, is there I mean, it's not very many people who have, the samurai sword right there. Is that for safety, or is there a story behind that?
No, that is not for safety at all. So I think I'm a very, very calm person. And when I was a little girl, I loved like the geishas. So literally I love everything about that culture. And so, I've got some swords around, but really it's just that I love the culture. That's it.
Okay.
Nothing deep,
and that's
a great
way to bring them in and fill in a window ledge that needed a piece of decoration in there.
Definitely.
Just was wondering. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about a toxic relationship and how it shows up. Yet something that kind of triggers in my mind is burnout shows up a lot. And that might be a toxic relationship, not with a person, yet with maybe how my life is going, or with my work, or with something more general than a specific person. Can we talk about burnout and how to prevent it, how to recognize it's coming and anticipate it, et cetera, et cetera?
You can probably gauge what my answer to that is going to be. So again, it's the body. Listen to the body. You'll start to get migraines. You'll start to be unwell within your body, and it's all about, again, similar to toxic relationships, setting the boundaries. So literally, you've got to have that work-life balance. And I mean, gosh, there's no doubt I was a workaholic. I was work crazy hours. And someone actually said to me, Jack, if you died tomorrow, you would be replaced. Like, there'd be an advert for your job out tomorrow, and that's it. And I thought, gosh, it's actually so true. We are all replaceable. Although my company might say you are irreplaceable, Jack. But it also, I've got that kind of name to be the fixer. So when there's a problem, when there's a big problem, I can then literally fix it very, very quickly, but it'll be taxing on me. So again, I travel a lot, quite a bit for business. So it's the simple things of literally making sure that you're clocking off when you need to, your to-do list, prioritization. A lot of us can be busy doing not a lot, when actually it's about really what is the important stuff to do. You prioritize that, you prioritize your health. So you asked a question earlier where you said about how do you shut off? So for me, I go to the gym. So the gym actually, it separates work from life. I'm able to literally, again, as a clinician, it releases all the serotonin in the brain. It means I focus on something else, and I'm focused on my well-being, keeping my body strong, strengthening the core and the mind. So it's that balance, the work will always be there. So it really is about getting that balance in place. And you'll recognize the burnout. Again, as I said, for me, I used to get migraines, and they were horrendous, absolutely horrendous for me. And it really was, okay, I need to switch off. So I used to have a gym at home. That doesn't work. That there's no separation for me. I need to leave this house and physically get to the gym, steam, sauna, again, train hard and then relax as well.
I don't want migraines. Like, how do I get upstream? Like, I don't want to be to the point where my body's like, all right, dude, you're burned out. Like, you got a migraine now. Shut the lights off. Like, what's happening upstream of those obvious signals in my body that might indicate I'm headed towards burnout?
So again, it's really so you'll feel it in. So for you, you're going to feel it in your gut, right? So before it gets to your head, that's where it's starting. You're not going to feel right. Okay, you're going to be miserable. Probably you're going to be negative. Okay, you're going to be sharp with people, and probably your family, your loved ones, your closest people to you will recognize that. They might say it to you, but again, you'll kind of bat it off because you don't want to kind of admit that actually it's probably too much. So again, it's about having honest conversations with all of the guys that work for me. I'm very, I'm a doer, I'm a fixer. I love to fix things really, really quickly. And I kind of like, sometimes I've had to pull myself back from expecting other people to work the same way that I work. So if I say to my guys, right, I need to do that, really, really, someone will say, I've taught them to say, I haven't got capacity to do that, to be able to say no. So again, put those boundaries in, because that's then I need them to practice what I'm preaching. So it's no good if I've got a team that are burning out. I have to live and breathe exactly what I'm saying. So I've been there, done it, burnt out, lived it. I now know how to recognize that in others. But ultimately, you have to recognize it in yourself. And that's the first one I would say. Recognize where you hold your stress. That's the start of burnout. It's stress, simple as that. You've then got to look at, know in your mind what is it that relaxes you? What is it that centers you, that brings you back to yourself? And for me, I love having a really hot bath, just chilling out in the bath, shutting the door. No one can talk to me, no phones, no nothing. If I can't get to the gym, that's the next best thing. So you've got to understand what are your kind of cut-off points that really just center you and take you back to yourself.
That's really good. Chad, do you have something that like you use to center yourself? Because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I'm not sure that I know exactly.
Right? I mean, over my shoulder, my home office is my home gym, right? But nothing gets me more focused, but I have it set up in a way that when I face this way, I'm at work. If I face that way, I'm at the gym. So I'm able to have almost a division, even though it's the same space. When I come in here and go right, it's one. When I come in here and go left, it's the other. My workout, I mean, Bob, you know that. I mean, I'm always trying to get you to head to a gym, get that stuff in that little bit, eat a little healthier. But also, to me, and I don't mean that, an explosive movie. So give me
Yeah,
one of the Avengers movies. Give me some, bad Die Hard, GI Joe, Transformer, something where there's a
yeah.
lot of explosion and people shooting at each other, and it's
God.
not just a release for me to be able to say, yeah, right. Everybody needs something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
I want to say sit
absolutely.
down and read a book. I want to say, you're right, I'm going to go meditate. No, that's not the release. That is calming myself. The reading is the learning and stuff that helps me grow. But
Yeah,
having that division, as Jack is saying, and having my workout, which is how I start the day to make sure I'm bringing the endorphins into the day, getting to the pickleball court, like you like to make fun of me now, getting to watch a movie or something at the end of a day, it gives me
yeah.
that division line to keep me from, plus loving what I do truly brings me energy instead of the, I don't want to go do it
Oh,
again today.
you know what? I love that. Do you know what? So I have been contacted by some very, very influential people in the UK where they have had execs literally on the floor, banging their heads against toilet doors and stuff like that. When they've then come to see me, it's been really apparent that actually their job is causing this, and they've retrained some of them to become therapists, and truly they're still in contact with me now, and it's like for them to have found their purpose in life, and at kind of middle age as well, that is phenomenal to see that transformation. So I think that's a really, really good point. If you can find something, if you can do something that you love, you've won the jackpot, I would say, right? Because we spend a lot of time, going to work to pay our bills, mortgage, rent, all of that. When you have children, you can then become quite trapped in terms of, if you're in a job, can you afford to retrain? So absolutely credit to anybody as well that does retrain later on in life. I've had that happen for a few people and they have not regretted it, truly. So really, really good point.
Jack, as we were jumping in here and kind of talking before we started recording, we were talking about, what things are you have expertise in, and one of the things that you have expertise in is kind of women in leadership. And Chad had made a comment. We have it's not a room full of women here.
Yeah.
There's a few guys that listen too, but I think there's something inside of that lane that, to me, crosses over. It's not simply something women experience, although maybe it's more so there. But I've experienced it, so I want to maybe bring it up. Imposter syndrome.
Oh my gosh,
So
it happens to all of us.
yeah, and so you deal with people that they sit down with you and they're telling you like, man, I can't believe they gave me this job. Like,
Absolutely.
like I don't feel qualified for this,
Yeah.
or like how how do you deal with that? Because I experience that sometimes, and sometimes, man, I wake up and I'm like, I'm the best at what I do, and sometimes I wake
Yeah.
up and I'm like, I can't believe they're putting me in this room.
Yeah.
So first of all, quick, what is imposter syndrome really? I mean, we've all heard the
Yeah.
catchphrase. Jack, what is it really? And then how do we overcome it if we're one of those people that is faced with it?
So imposter syndrome is, of course, where you are doing something where you feel like you're either not qualified or not capable, or that you're a fraud. Or literally, you feel like I'm fraudulently doing this or being where I shouldn't be. I would say it happens to all of us. I'm not sure that I know anyone that is in very, very high-powered jobs, leadership positions, that at some point doesn't feel that. So again, how do we move through that? And actually, it's all about trusting yourself. Okay, you've got the job, you're in that position because somebody believed in you and feels that you are the right person for that job. I would say always, always change. You have to change your mindset. Okay, so it really is about, it's that belief in yourself. Okay, as you said, we're always growing, always learning, always reading, all of that. But you have to change the frame. So if you're kind of talking negatively to yourself, what's going to happen? Okay, think about cognitive behavioral therapy. What you think about, like how you feel, will affect how you think, which will then affect how you behave. So you have to literally write down any limiting beliefs that you've got. I guarantee that they will be false beliefs about yourself. Okay, how many thoughts a day do we have? Anybody know? How many?
Yeah, we keep looking at the notes like, what is it?
Yeah.
80,000.
60,000 thoughts,
Exactly.
80,000.
60,000 thoughts minimum a day. And I guarantee a lot of them will not be really positive and just out there thoughts. It's going to be the stuff that holds us back. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to believe in yourself. you have to, I would say, for me, and I say it to all of my guys as well, whenever you get great feedback, literally put it in a folder. And whenever you feel that you're kind of wavering against yourself, look in that. And, or if you get, for me, you know, I get wonderful, wonderful testimonials that come through. And I read it and I think, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I did that. Like, I've supported that person to get where they need, or the business, you know, saving a business 20 grand a month, all that kind of thing. When I read it, I'm like, gosh, that is all me. So that's a really good, I think the older you get, the more examples of that you're going to have. So always keep that kind of in your back pocket. Have a support system, right? Have good people around you that can validate, you know, who you are, what you do. And I think definitely just literally just be your own cheerleader, you know, every
Chad,
single day.
I'm having an idea, Chad. I think I'm going to send Chat GPT through Active Rain and ask it to compile every good thing that was ever said about me on our.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
That'll take days, Bob. There's so much stuff in there.
Ben, so we have a partner in our business. His name's Ben
Yeah.
Kinney. He said something once that I go back to a lot when I'm feeling imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's basically, he would say, I don't know what I'm doing. And every day I'm waking up right now doing the biggest thing I've ever done in my life, right? Like leading the biggest company I've ever led. And like, I take that posture a lot, and it actually gives me some peace. Like, you know, I'll say, you know, I don't have all the answers, and it's okay. Right. And there's some
Yes,
peace
absolutely.
in acknowledging that. And I don't have to be the expert in everything. Right. And so I don't know, there's a lot of peace that I've found in that idea that like, I'm waking up each day doing something I haven't done, but I do have a belief in myself that I can figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think what comes across is your authenticity. And I think that is how you connect. When people are authentic, that's how human beings genuinely connect. So again, even if I say to all of my guys, you know, if I ask a question, you don't know it, just say, I don't know the answer, but I'll find it out. You know, that's it. It's just be authentic all of the time, ask the questions. And even me, I think, you know, I've often had people say, Jack, can you do this? Or we've got this problem. And I just say, do you know what? Let me take care of that for you. Then I'll go and figure it out, you know, and then I will take care of it, you know. So again, and it's a place to grow, continuously grow, and just keep asking the questions.
Right. Bob, it's how it's one of the early quotes I give Ben, right? He said, when I give you a potato, don't give me back a potato, give me back French fries. Right. Go figure it out. You'll feel right. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you might be an imposter in the kitchen at first, but before you know it, boy, you're going to be an expert at making French fries.
Gosh, man, for so long in so many different places, Chad, I would feel that, you know, you're just like, oh, I can't believe they put me out here, or I've never done this before, or, but I think the more that you just kind of face that and go, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I can figure this out. Like the muscle starts to build, and then, you know, you feel like that less often.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, if you're out there, you don't know what you're doing at the gym, learn the exercises. Before you know it, people are coming to you and saying, hey, how do I use this machine? Right? Think about, Bob, how we talk to people that are in the place organization, at least, knowing your script, knowing what to say. Because even if you feel like you're an imposter, say what I would have said, because I'm a veteran at it. And if you say what I would have said, you build the confidence that comes. Before you know it, you look back, you're not an imposter anymore. You're exactly where you're meant to be.
That.
Okay, Jack. So we've heard about some toxic relationships and how to get out of them, how to identify they're coming. We've talked about burnout. We've talked about the imposter syndrome. We talked about katana swords and other crazy fun things. Bob needs to be on the sofa with a lot more therapy with you and all that kind of stuff. Yet, as we come to the end of this episode, and folks, you know not to leave early, because this is where the real great lesson comes. Jack, I don't care if you repeat something that we've already talked about, or if there's something else on your heart that you're saying, I really want to share this and the guys didn't ask me about it or something. What's the last thought you want to leave our audience with today after hearing from you?
So, do you know what I would say? Throughout my life, my biggest growth has come from challenges. When I've literally been on the floor or thought, oh my God, what am I going to do next? Actually, any door that's closed, it's always closed because another door is waiting to be opened. So I would say to anybody that, I come from a council estate in London, very, very poor, but my mindset has always been like to be better, to get better, to do better, and to just be a winner in life. So adversity shapes us, and honestly, you change that mindset, reframe that mind, you can achieve absolutely anything in life.
Okay, we've been talking with Jacqueline Beasley. Jacqueline, if they want to follow up with you, if they want more, if they just want to hear your voice because of your wonderful accent, how do they reach out? How do they connect with you? Where's the best way to connect with you after this?
So on the website, jackiebeasley.co.uk, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. People love different types of, forms of social media. Contact me on any of those platforms at all.
I'm looking at, you have a new Instagram follower. I'm looking at the Instagram chat, and it's a lot of videos there. So if the voice is something that you're after, that might be the place that you head.
Okay, there we go. Jackie, thank you for coming over the pond, right? And having the conversation with us today. We love folks that we're going to bring you guests from everywhere in the country. It doesn't matter where they are. We thank you for reaching out, connecting with us today, bringing such a great message to everybody. Folks, share this with someone. Maybe they're in a toxic relationship and this is your way to say, I'm not going to tell them because they won't listen to me. Maybe they'll listen to Jack and what she has to say. Help people through the Win, Make, Give episodes. That's one of the things they do. They help you and they're there to help others. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any. And until our next episode, as always, do good.